Hello. Today I want to share my forever world. I've been a player for 15 years, but only in the past year have I actually found the motivation to keep a world longer than just 1 month. Over that year, this world has become my home and my comfort. So without further ado, I'll just get right into it. So, hello, this is the first city that I'll show off. So this is Thortown. It was mostly based off the word Thorm from Thormcraft, because I loved the trees that had blue leaves in them, and as a result, the main staple of this town is based on those trees. This is a pretty simple town. It wasn't furnished very heavily, except for this one house here, which I ended up living in for a period. I very much styled this based off of old Minecraft servers that I used to be a part of, and at the back here there is an NPC village that's been empty for a while. It was here when I started the world, and the entire village was pretty much desolate by, like, day 5, I think. It didn't take long. These old NPC villages were not that well designed, though they hold a special place in my heart. Obviously, the entranceway to this has some large gates to it, and these were where I ended up storing a lot of the resources needed to build the place. Moving on to this ride area, there are two rides. They are both minecart roller coasters. This one is called Carrot Fumble, and it is kind of wintry themed. And I'll see if I can do a run through of it. There is minecarts left in here. Cool. Okay. You probably saw on the other side there is one. Now the rocket ship design, I ended up borrowing from Stampy. I'm a big fan of his. Um, and I used to watch the Lovely World series as a kid. It's pretty plain on the interior, but that's like, whatever. And the actual ride itself is called Galaxy Cruise. That's mostly because of a second part that you'll see underground. This being the second part. I absolutely love these sorts of rainbow tunnels, they're so cool. And the Galaxy Cruise ends at the moon, of course, which you probably know, very popular Stampy episode, the To the Moon one. Oh, I loved that as a kid. Yeah. Alright, that leaves the minecart up here. Now, down here is Cavitas, which is a little NPC village that I ended up making. They're all like these little green interconnected townhouses next to a larger sugarcane farm. I'm gonna go in free cam for this. The sugarcane farm is layered and honestly pretty huge for what it is. I don't end up needing this much, but I liked building it. I think it's pretty cool. At the end of it, there is a little pond that I decorated with leaves because it reminded me of some of the old Hypixel lobbies that I used to play in. And there's a little pillager in the lake. We ignore him. There used to be another one that ended up dying because I was wearing thorns. It's called Sharkager. And I don't have a name for this one yet. Okay. Over here, I hope and pray that people will understand this reference, but I made two little bears, one gold, one brown. There's a little top hat and a little bow tie. Additionally, in the lake over here, there is a little underwater settlement that I ended up building a while ago. I absolutely love these sorts of interiors. The sandstone oakwood is like such a favorite of mine at this point. And this is my little bedroom for this area, which is just so cozy. So this brings me to my original spawn point area. This is the site of my first house, and is a lot of my bulk storage. This small area here with the farms was where I set up originally. And these two little pens of animals were where I like kept my first, well, pets in here and animals in here. Moving up from this area, there is a little residence on the hill next to it, home to Squelch, which is a pet magma cube. They ended up coming through the portal at one point, and I just decided to keep a hold of them. So now, past the two bear statues, you probably saw this in the distance, but I've created a large castle. This one doesn't have a name necessarily, and I'm going to go in free cam to show you the scale of it. It's pretty big. Now, I personally lived in this area for a while, and it was mostly because my villagers in other areas kept on dying to mobs, like stray zombies and stuff wandering into the area and getting stuck. The houses are very simple and unrefined on the inside, but on the outside they're pretty classic, you know? Now this is the lakeside residence. This is an area that I ended up building to overlook into my spawn area. And this was meant to be a guest house for people who joined my world. There's small little nooks to either side of it. And I don't remember putting this here, but it appears I decorated it to be old-fashioned and, like, run down. There's a little lake here. This was originally for pufferfish, and then I decided to build snails on the bank of it, which I think are cute. I've never seen this done before, and a friend replaced one of the snails with diamond. Over this direction, there's two dogs that I ended up rescuing. One of them is untamed, this one here, and one of them's tamed. So, further along this pathway, we have the bee towers. This one's unoccupied, and this one's occupied with quite a few bees. I think there's about 100-ish in there. And beyond here we have two references. You may recognize these. These are from the Elemental Creepers mod. I decided to build them as statues, so obviously the Dark and the Light Creeper. The Light Creeper would have, like, placed glowstone, and the Dark one removes, like, torches and things. And there's a little love coaster here, around the back of the sugarcane farm. Now, we're going to go a little bit off path for this one. This is an additional area. Hold on. Weather. We need to correct that. Okay, so this is an additional area, just to the side of that. It's right on the edge of my world, funnily enough. And this is a little fish hotel, an axolotl pyramid, as well as my storage house for all of the projects over this area. So obviously, storage house, it didn't need all the space it required, but I still built it to be pretty big. And through here, we have the axolotl enclosure. Now, all of these axolotls are named after a few fictional characters that I like. I won't show you all of them, because they're hard to track down, but know that one of the gold ones is called Navia. Okay. Now, inside the fish hotel, I must confess, I don't actually have any fish stored in it yet. I'm relying on villagers to sell me fish over time, because they don't naturally spawn in my world. Now, past here, we, of course, have a reference to Terraria, and behind it, there is an additional secret route down. This area down, I'm not sure why I built it at the time, but I just really wanted a little segmented jungle area. Mostly because I was very much in love with vines, and especially glowing vines at the time. These are obviously from the Lush Cave, they give glowberries. Yeah, very yellowy theme going on, which very much starkly contrasts with the above theme that's quite pink. Okay. Beyond here, we have one of our first farms. This is a Blaze farm. So this has spawners in it that I got from various strongholds. Oh, sorry, not strongholds. Fortresses in the Nether. There's a woodland back here, and in which there's a little cabin. I stayed here for a while making a bunch of structures around here, and honestly, it's very cozy at night. Okay, back to the path. So, I might have shown you an NPC village earlier that was desolate. Because I felt bad for it, I ended up creating a old-style Minecraft village. Now, these beds are not supposed to be here, I'm so sorry. But I've tried to recreate some of the old house designs, because I remember growing up with these, and I really liked how they felt, like, on the inside. Especially when it's your first night, you don't have, like, a place to stay, and you'll just find these, like, scattered in and about. And back then the villages were a lot more random than they are now. Yeah, I loved these sorts of designs. I'm gonna go in free cam real quick, just to show you from above. Okay. Now we have a long walk back. So, there is an elevator up here, and this takes us to another zone that I really like. At the time, I was rather fixated on nether bricks and trying to work it into builds. There's a little storage shed here. Lots of places will have these, by the way. And above here is a clock tower and a trading hall. Now, I'm not a biggest fan of villagers, but I must concede I do have to use them at some points. So this was originally created as an area for trading with villagers. And the clock tower, just because I really like them. Now, when I said trading hall, it's not finished. It's very barren on the inside, but I think it looks pretty good from the outside. There's some little terraced flowers here, and I love the double tool flowers, especially so. Okay. So, you might have noticed the area on our left, and I went past this earlier. Now, I can't actually go down this way, that's a way up. But, this is Old Town. Now this is connected to another area in my world that we're not going to go to yet. But Old Town was one of the first areas that I decided to settle in. I had a problem when I first started playing, which is that my house was where I stored things, and not necessarily where I lived. And as such, I created this as a bit of a leisure house. It's got multiple rooms, they're all nicely furnished. And this was... At the time, my friends would make jokes that I was technically homeless in the game, so this was built as a way to counter that. These were built so I could actually sleep in them and live in them at the time, because otherwise I was just sleeping among my chests. And here's the guest bedroom. So outside of here is another building. This one was meant to be used for farmers, as you can probably see through these windows. This is a little outdoor greenery area. I really like this sort of thing. I don't know. The old glass makes it feel really cozy on the inside, especially at night. And through here were supposed to be the villagers. Unfortunately, the thing I needed most at the time was actually librarian villagers, not farming ones, so this place got a little bit repurposed. But oh well. Now there's an additional 2 buildings down here. These don't have any purpose at the moment, but I did make them so that they could be lived in at some point. I'm only going to show you a little bit of the insides, if you could bear with me. Bunch of little rooms all connected. Yeah. Okay. Through here, there's a minecart track. Now this leads back to an additional area we'll get to at some point, but not right now. There's also another portal here. You probably saw one near the area that I started in. These were really early on introduced so that I could just, like, connect to the 2 places to send items between the 2. Now, I know we came in through the place that we weren't supposed to, but we're now going to go back out that place, so that should be fine. So earlier on you might have noticed the pond area and that I skipped over going down this path just here. This one leads across a little coral pond, and funnily enough houses one of my first pets. I'm not sure if you can see it from that side. Yeah, the salmon. So one of my friends rather likes fish, and so do I, so I named a salmon really early on into my world. And he's been relocated a number of times from that pond over there to here. He should be just under the water here. There he is. Alright. Now there's a connecting area, bit of a garden walk here. I just also wanted to mention, I love a lot of the older blocks that were harder to obtain. I know that now you can obtain them with things like vines and moss, but I love so much the old texture of mossy cobblestone. It brings a cozy cave comfort, as it were. Now this next area is a bit of a seaside type one. I didn't have an ocean in my world, so this area is mined out, and the town was made next to it once it had been mined out. Now if you look down, it's not that deep in comparison to many real-world oceans, but I believe it's about 56 blocks down in Minecraft, and I ended up quarrying it out with a beacon quite a while ago. Now, I didn't mean to imply this by scattering mob heads around, but at the time I recently got a trident, and so I was loving placing things like zombie heads in areas, and as a result, this feels appropriate for a town that monsters would live in, to me, at the very least. Now, on the other side here, you've probably already seen this. but this is a old style mansion that I made after watching through the season 2 of Minecraft Story Mode. I'm not sure what it is, but I love using brick, especially on larger builds. It adds such a good sense of scale to them, especially with it being such a time-consuming block to get. Alright, and on the inside, I have actually decorated a little bit. Now, it's not the whole thing. It's, in fact, pretty shallow, but I've decorated a few little library-like rooms, as well as a little dance floor through here. Big fan of this, by the way. However, on the other side, as you can imagine with lots of my builds, it's still quite unfinished, so there is the void. Now, you might have also noticed there is a hot air balloon in the sky above us. This was a build that I ended up making significantly later, because I honestly just wanted to survey the area around her. So if we fly up to it with a free cam, the little orange and fire themed hot air balloon, and inside of it a bed and a few chests. Just so I could set my spawn point and live up here for a few days. Now, I know you're probably wondering why I'm taking you into a forest, but it has a special purpose, and that is these. I created battle towers based on the old Minecraft mod, meant for those. Now, these aren't one-to-one recreations, but rather my interpretations of them. And additionally, at the top here, we have one of my dogs. This is Spirit. Additionally, this forest is actually mostly based in a plains biome, and as a result I needed to grow almost all of it by hand, which did take a while, but I'm definitely a fan of it. Now we're gonna cut through here, very unprofesh, but that's fine. So early on into the VOD, I ended up making water canals. Now, I don't particularly use these very much anymore, because I've stopped carrying around with me a boat, but I can still use them with a trident, and for that, they still have some purpose. So, this is onto a completely different district. This is going to be the farming district. Now, there's a little garden walk here, which is quite scenic and everything. But this side of the world was mostly dedicated to more functional farms. Nothing particularly automatic, but through here, a wheat farm. Through this building is a sheep farm. So this has all the colours of wool, but I did need to cull down their numbers because it was causing lag. Through here, some various statues. And my second villager to the world, actually, through here, which was my mending villager. Lots of people know that one as being pretty important, and I can't blame them. Up the hill here is a beetroot farm. In addition to a farming villager, which at the time was just meant so that I could trade my beetroot and have emeralds. And this isn't necessarily a farm, but this build here is a cake cafe. Because at the time I had a particular craving, you can probably imagine. I really like cherrywood, and honestly, it all came together really nicely. Through here we have a double-story one. This is a potato farm. I know that not many people are a fan of the old neon-coloured potatoes, but I mean, I don't mind them. Up here is two, or rather, a pair of towers. I'm not going to call them twins. That would be disrespectful. But these are meant for kelp. And as a result, they're both filled with water, which has taken a few people by surprise. I'm probably one of the only people who likes it, but I think the texture for dried kelp actually looks pretty cool as a packed block. So I have farmed plenty of it over time. Now, through here, there was a mob farm earlier that was for blazes. This one is for zombies. There's 3 or so spawners in here, and they all drop down into a central area. Related to that, I have a cleric villager in here just to pour off like all of the rotten flesh that I would get over time, because it was seriously filling chests. And in here is a dripstone farm, though it's pretty hard to even enter the building unless you want to clear it out. Through here is a melon farm. And then through there is an additional area that we'll come to in a moment. The moment is actually now. So this was originally a mining site, and I tried to like make very aesthetic like construction and scaffolding there. I really like this combination of blocks, to be honest. And in the center we have the mining pit. Now, that's not only the mining pit. At the bottom of this is a large-scale area that I've mined out, and it was specifically for gold ore. You'll see why I needed all that later on. But because this world was generated in 1.12, all this area contains diamonds and other ores, which are still pretty valuable in this version. To get out of here, I have some little water pads, but the scaffolding also works. In lots of these little storage containers are sets of chests for, well, stone. But an additional point of note is that there is a stone trading villager up here, which is incredibly handy and has funded quite a lot of mending books in his time. Now, back through here, we have some of the last farms. This is a 3-story carrot farm just approaching here. I really like the design of this. As you can tell, it was definitely borrowed from the potato farm just behind us. And then up ahead is another farming add-on, I suppose you could call it. Though this one's more focused on combat and potion making. So there's a pit of nether wart here, little sword pixel art, wooden sword pixel art, and behind us, 2 skeleton statues. Now this is where all the gold ore had to come from. Or well, had to go, I suppose. And in this building at the back here is where the skeleton grinder is. There is a few spawners up here. I think there is 3 in total. And they all kind of commune at that central point. There's additionally a parkour course here. It's mostly because I had slime blocks and I wanted to do something fun with them. And this is from free cam view, the whole area. There's a lava pit here too, because I kept on getting bows and stuff from the skeletons. They would drop them on the brag, and that was just really cluttering up my inventory. Now, I mentioned a parkour area earlier. This is an additional one, but this is meant to look out upon the world beneath it. So this is the area that we're in at the moment. I'll touch on this bit in a moment. Alright, I'm teleporting back down. So you probably just saw this area from up there, but this is a snowy or winter themed area, and there is 2 layers to it. So there is the bottom layer, this is all indoors, and this is a raceway based sort of thing. Now it's for ice boating, and the ice took a very long time to get, but the track is pretty large. Through here is a horrendous amount of storage, and up the ladder is the Rio snowy area. So I live in the UK, you can probably tell, and around springtime it started getting warm and I started missing winter. So I constructed this area as like a winter wonderland sort of deal. These houses aren't particularly furnished, but they're small little cabins. I rather like them. There's a little pool here. Now, you probably can't get it from just this, but these are furnaces, and at one point they were all lit up, and it was very cozy, like reminded me of a bubble bath sort of thing. Through here is an open plan cafe. So this is incredibly cozy at night, as you can probably imagine. And this is just for the town, like, area as a whole. Down here you have more of the candy canes, and this is one of the houses that's actually furnished. I try to make it look cozy and very much like lived in. And this is somewhere I often end up coming if it's like late at night in real life and I just want somewhere cozy to exist in. Now you've probably seen in the middle, but there's a giant tree. Now I won't take you through the whole thing, but this was originally intended as an art museum on the inside. Naturally, there's some space up here that's pretty unused, because I'm not the best with interiors. But there's quite a few paintings up here, and at some point I'm going to label all of them. These paintings are mostly by Christopher Zetterstrand, and I don't have access to the new ones because those were added later in 1.21. Through the other side of the central tree is another little selection of cabins. Now these are also not furnished on the inside, but this one is planned to be a little gingerbread making house, or in Minecraft case, cakes. It's just gonna be for cakes. And then past here is another cabin, and a little alcove with 2 of the smaller ones. This one being one that I briefly lived in for a time. Though I did take a few things out of it. Of course you got the presents under the tree. This, honestly, this sort of build came back from the Minecraft Hypixel lobbies. Often during wintertime or even just seasonal times, they would change up the designs of them, and every single time I would love it. It was just so nice to see variation upon them. Now this is an area that I didn't touch upon earlier, but this is a little like inn sort of area. It was mostly used as a storage house and as well as just a place to sleep while I was working on the snowier areas. Now, you probably saw this earlier, but there's a tunnel leading off of the farming area, as well as a little house for 2 rabbits. It originally had a villager in it, but the villager did die, unfortunately. This area has 2 directions it splits off between, so we're going to go to this one first. Now this one, you can probably see from the ground, has rather a few larger buildings up top. However, what I found the most fun to work on at the time was making something beneath it. So this is a little overgrown village that's entirely dark because of a sealed-in ceiling, as well as walls made out of tinted glass. Tinted glass, of course, not allowing any light in. This area is fully mob-proof and honestly really, really cozy to just walk around in. It's a little bit unfinished. This area up here is not done, for example. But all of the areas down here are done and finished, in my opinion. Now going up the stair tower, this is going to take us to the overworld side of it. And this area up here is mostly used for, surprisingly, batch farms. So this is ones that I can harvest less frequently, but get more out of. This first tower here is bamboo dedicated, and so is the second. These central two are dedicated to specific trees, in this case being jungles, because I needed to preserve some of the leaves and the saplings on them. I'm going to go in free cam real quick and just show you the area from the outside. On the other side of these two towers, there's a bit of an empty plot. This is planned for another tower, but I ended up burning out at the time, so I didn't get to finish it. And these ones here are for cactuses. Now, this giant orange one, you're probably asking what it's for, and the cookie on the side is actually quite deceptive. See, this is actually for pumpkins. And that's because villagers have a really fun trade, which is like 4 pumpkins to an emerald, I believe. And I really wanted emerald blocks at the time, so there are many, many floors of just pumpkins. Now through here is a very much non-functional part of my world. I asked a friend, because I wanted to build a watery themed area for Pokemon to put on pixel art on the side of the building, and she chose Chinchou. Down here is a little pool, and funnily enough, this is where a bunch of my skeleton horses have gotten stuck over time, which isn't as fun, but just trivia, I guess. And up here is one main tower and 2 side beds. And I'm going to go in free cam to show these off. These are elytra courses. They go over the Christmas area, and they're all filled with water, obviously. And I have found so much fun in doing them. Of course, down here, there's a little seating area, and the various crash ponds for people to land in at the end of the route. Funnily enough, I got tired of climbing the staircase, so I added water in the middle, and it doesn't even take you up to the top properly. It only takes you part way, but oh well. Now through here is an area related to that, but it's a lot more ice-themed. I mentioned elemental creepers earlier, and I've built a little water creeper statue down here. Additionally, a few farms, other things like that. And otherwise, I styled this village after a roleplay village I used to be a part of in a server called World of Maria, This is also where my horse is stored, but that's a different matter. And the glass area that I'm standing on is another reference. Now, I can't remember the mod that this originated from, but I am a big fan of a old Minecraft mod that ended up adding in a little icy forest. If anyone could tell me where it is from, I would love to know. I remember it looking almost exactly like this, with snow blocks and layers and trees that were frozen. Okay. Coming up here, I think we can almost end the tour now. So this world is 1 year old, as well as a few days. So I believe it is now 10 days and 1 year old. I started this in version 1.12, and I cut the world border size down to only 256 by 256. Or actually, I think it might be 512 by 512. But the actual axis itself only goes up to 256 on either direction. This world was then later updated to 1.20.1, and that's where it currently sits right now. I'm a big fan of 1.12, but I just wanted a few of the newer features, as well as to be able to use a few of the mods that I liked. So the update was pretty necessary. And last of all, I'm just going to take you back to where it all started. So this was the first house that I ended up making in the world, and one of the first places I ended up living. It is absolutely chock-a-block with chests. Yeah. Funnily enough, I still use this to store things, though most of these chests are absolutely filled to the brim. Yeah, it's a bit of a problem, and a bit of a hazard for organising, but oh well. And I believe that brings us to the end of the tour. Thank you so much for joining me. I also want to say thank you so much for staying with me for the whole tour. I know that it was quite a long one. You're so appreciated, so please take care today.